If I had to name the most aggressive chess opening of all time, I would certainly say that it's the Danish Gambit. And if you have a taste for aggressive openings and you like sacrificing pawns for lead and development and a menacing attack, then this is the opening for you. So the Danish Gambit starts when you play e4 and your opponent answers by playing e5 and you play d4. This is known as like the center game position, and your opponent's going to take the pawn, and instead of taking back with the queen, you're just going to play c3, offering another pawn for your opponent to take. And here, after they grab the pawn, you are offering yet another pawn by playing bishop to c4. We're going to develop our bishop very quickly and offer another pawn to our opponent. And after they take the pawn, we are going to recapture with the bishop. Bishop takes b2. And here, guys, take a look at this. We have these pair of bishops. This pair of bishops is just menacing here in this position, threatening this weak pawn here on f7 and this pawn here on g7, making it hard for this bishop to develop. So if black does some silly moves with this bishop, like playing bishop here to e7 or maybe bishop here to c5, you can go ahead and take this bishop, this pawn, and the rook in the corner. So always keep your eyes open to moves like this or this. You can win this pawn and the rook in the corner. If your opponent is not aware, this is a very common attack. And of course, this sacrifice here, sacrificing the bishop on f7, leading the king to take, and then winning some material is going to be a thematic sacrifice in this opening. The most common answer that we're going to see here is bishop here to b4 checking. And here we're just going to play knight c3, blocking the check, and our opponent is going to try and develop this knight to f6. In which case, we're just going to play queen to b3, forcing the trade. And after bishop takes, we take back with the queen in this position, okay? So here, after black castles, we just play knight f3, developing our pieces and preparing to castle. And after, let's say, d6, we castle, and knight c6, we play rook a to d1, lining up our queen, our rook to black's queen. And we're ready to play very menacing moves here. We have all our pieces playing, all our pieces developed. We're down some pawns here, that's true, but this attack is so powerful that the engine considers it to be equal for both sides. So it's not losing for white. This is actually a very powerful attack. And in a practical game of blitz or bullet, it's very hard for black to defend because the initiative from white here is just too overwhelming. But going back to the previous position where we have the first position of this opening, we also have moves like, for example, knight here, knight to f6, developing the knight. But whenever we see this knight moving here like this, we're just going to push the pawn to e5, attacking this knight and asking it a question. In this case here, they can choose two options, just moving the knight away or checking here, the same move that we have seen before. If they move the knight to e4, we're going to sacrifice the bishop on f7. This is the first time we're going to see this sacrifice, this very thematic sacrifice here. We take the pawn, sacrificing the bishop on f7, and after king takes, we can play this move queen to f3 check. We can also play queen here, and it's going to be the same double attack. It's like a fork here, and your opponent is going to say, what the fuck is going on? And they are going to lose the piece with interest. Of course, they drop back, we just take the knight, and we are getting one pawn back. After, let's say, knight c6, we just continue our development, trying to castle next move. If they play bishop check, we're just going to develop, blocking the check. We're still developing pieces very quickly here. And look, guys, how much pressure we have here. We have all our pieces playing. After queen e7, we can castle, all our pieces are developed. We have a very strong attack here. We're threatening to just open up the position, centralize the rooks, play moves like this, hitting the queen and hitting the bishop is just too overwhelming for black to deal with this. So if they trade, we just take back. They're probably going to do that. So this is a great game for white. But instead of playing that, instead of playing the knight here, they can also go straight away for this move, bishop b4 check, in which case we're just going to block with the bishop this time to encourage further trades. And after they take, we take back with the knight. And after queen e7 here, because actually in this position, we are threatening to take this knight, so they have to do something about it. They try to pin the pawn here to the king, so we cannot take. We're just going to unpin by playing queen e2. And now we're actually threatening to take this knight. They have to drop the knight back to g8, where they are undeveloping the knight, setting up the pieces for the next game. So we play just knight f3, preparing to castle and finish our development. After knight c6, let's say, we just play here. And we have, again, very powerful attack. We can centralize the rooks, we can play this move, we can break open the center here. We have a very powerful attack against black. It's very hard to defend if you're playing black. Of course, they also have another option. They can just play d5 here in this position. And here, we're just going to take with the bishop, encouraging further trades. If your opponent is not aware and they play a move, let's say like c6, believe it or not, guys, this move seems very stupid, very silly, but it's been played over 7,000 times in games according to the Lead Chess database, so keep your eyes open for this little trap. If they play a silly move like this, feel free to collect your free queen, because you're just going to sacrifice the bishop again on f7, forcing the king to take. If they take, you just win the queen. So one thing that they can do is that they might play this move, not taking the bishop here, but then you just play check here, forcing them to take, and then you grab the queen. You're gonna win the queen for free anyway, no matter what black does. So if black is a little more aware, they're not going to play this move here. They're not going to play c6. They're going to develop the knight to f6. And here we are going to sacrifice the bishop the same way. We're going to sacrifice, forcing black to take, and then we take the queen. Of course, this is not for free. If your opponent is aware, they're going to check here, forcing us to drop the queen back and give the queen back to black. But if they're not aware, if they don't see this and play a silly move like hiding the king or doing some other silly moves like this, trying to attack the queen, they are actually losing the game on the spot because you are just up a queen. So probably they're going to check here. This is going to happen most of the time, and there is absolutely no move besides this one. We have to drop the queen back here, and then they take back. We just recapture with the knight. After, let's say, knight c6, we're going to develop our knight. And after, let's say, rook e8, we're going to castle, and we have an equal endgame. And here, guys, if you count the pawns and the pieces, we are equal in material. It's totally equal. I would say that this is even a little bit better for white, because we have our pieces more active right now. They still have to develop some pieces here on black's position. So I believe that this position is even better for white, a little bit better for white in this case. Okay, so guys, this is pretty much it. This is the Danish Gambit. It's a very aggressive opening, very good for playing blitz and bullet games. Your opponents are going to feel overwhelmed. They are probably not prepared against this. And if you like playing some very aggressive openings, this is probably the one for you. And guys, as always, I would like to ask you guys to like this video, share with your friends, comment down below, subscribe to the channel for more. And as always, I see you guys in the next one.